Hello, I am Centimus Prime, and here I will be comparing the LEGO Hero Factory Brain Attack Breeze to a bootleg of the same set. Now, a while back, I got this bootleg of the sets from AliExpress, and I've even done a unboxing video for her. You can check it out if you want, but it won't be necessary for this video. So here, it's not really going to be a review of this set. It's just going to be me comparing this bootleg that I've gotten to the official set. All right. Good. So, to start things off, I'm going to start with I'm going to start with the most obvious changes and then work my way down. Make sense? Alright, so I'm going to start with the weapons because sorry, Breeze. So I'm going to start with the weapons. And yes, you are going to notice that this Breeze is missing one of her blade weapons. I got her from a parts lot, so she is going to be missing a part or two. She is going to be missing some stuff, but it shouldn't be that bad. Just imagine that there's two of these blades, okay? Alright, so starting off, let's compare their weapons. So, right off the bat, you can see that the blades are different colors. So, and I'm just going to tell you now, the Breeze on the right is the official one, and the Breeze on the left is the bootleg, in case it wasn't obvious enough. So, the blades on the official one, the blades on the end are silver, just like these parts right here. Whereas on this set, they're the more common gunmetal gray. And this is actually something that I didn't even notice during my unboxing. I noticed that these things were pretty dusty, but I didn't know that they were in the completely wrong color. Huh. So moving down, they both use these brown pieces, but the official one uses a lighter shade of brown, the reddish brown, where on the bootleg, she uses the darker shade of brown instead. And just because we're at the weapons already, comparing these two silver pieces at the hilt, they're almost the same, but the bootleg one has these nub marks over on here, and before they were kind of stuck out, but I think I had to cut those up or something. And if you do notice that the official Breeze has a couple more spikes than compared to the bootleg. The official set doesn't really have them attached on both sides. I'm pretty sure these were just added on spare parts that were added on. again, this is like a secondhand set that I got from parts lots. There's going to be a couple things off, but it's pretty much everything else is pretty much here. Now with the most obvious thing out of the way, let's move on to the weapons, to the like saw weapons. So the official saw blade shield is very nice. It's very nice. It's very has like this matte finish. It's nice. It almost looks like it's made out of metal. Very, very nice. I do like it, and it's very. Do like the overall feel and look of this saw blade shield. The bootleg one. So you'll notice that the bootleg one is shinier. Like you can see how shiny that is. It's a bit shiny. But not only that, it's sort of translucent in a way. Like it's not fully it's not like the shell armor it's not like being able to see through. It's like you can it's like light. It's enough that light's able to pass through. So it's not like fully transparent. It's enough it's just transparent enough that light can be able to shine through. Think of Frost Beast's sword, because that piece was not translucent, but light was still able to shine through. And on the topic of the shield, the bootleg actually came with spare pieces too, but she also came with a piece that the official didn't. So she came with one of these flick fire missiles, and it was attached, and it came attached to the shield, and this whole thing was attached to the hand. Which I can just bring up that's some of the bootleg breeze, like when I opened it, like some parts of breeze were like pre-assembled, and that was like including the shield, which was pre-assembled wrong, and it was like stuck like that. I eventually separated the parts, but I ended up breaking this piece in the process. This is one of the official ones I have lying around. Just in case, just for those who haven't seen the short that I put out for that. So yeah, so the bootleg did came with a piece that the original didn't come with, but it was packaged in a way that I couldn't get the parts separate without breaking it. So there's a weird trade-off there. Then here's my next thing, the silver. The silver is a pretty, like on camera, it's not that noticeable from what I can tell. It's more noticeable here. Like the silver on the bootleg one is a bit lighter than the silver on the official. Yeah, like the silvers here are slightly lighter. And then I'll bring up the next thing that's pretty obvious. The cores. The hero cores. On the official, and this goes for literally every hero and villain set that came with this piece, So if you look at the hero core, you can see that it's this white piece, but it also has like this light gray background to make the H part of the hero core more stand out a bit more. It's honestly quite a nice touch. I honestly do like that about the core, even though it's quite neutral color and like it's not colored like any of the cores in the show, but whatever. For here on the bootleg, they didn't do that. So you have the H, but it's kind of being washed out by the background. And now we know why they made that part of the core gray. And in case you're wondering, I am going to pull out and show you another difference between the cores, because for those who know, when collecting these breakout and brain attack sets, each hero and villain set would come with a core because each set would come with its own hero core, because each core on the back would have like a code printed on the back, and that code will allow you to gain more game points in their respective games. And here's basically what it looks like. I'm just gonna... Oh no, I'm showing you the code. Whatever, the games are no longer up at this point. So what's the point of keeping these codes secrets? So you can see that the official one has this seemingly random code, and the code's going to be different with every hero core. But on this one, there's just a molded lead number 9 back there. So you just get that. Just putting these back real quick. Taking the bootleg core out was a little bit more challenging, but only by a little bit. Then next up, I'm gonna show you a pretty big difference between these two that I didn't even notice until I got the official one. And yeah, they both can raise their visors. That's no big deal. What is interesting is how the sculpting is. So, what I mean by that is, if you take a look at breez, at the official breez, you can see all those lines. They're molded in pretty sharp. They're molded in. They're molded in. Like you can definitely see that the lines are nice and clear. You know where, there's some pretty nice sharp there's pretty nice little details picked out nicely. It's overall pretty clean design. But looking at the bootleg, you can see the same parts, but a lot of the lines are not as well defined. They're not as well picked out. Like you can see that, like you can see how that is. Ooh, light piping. But you can see that there are a bit of differences between just the head sculpt alone. Like, it's still, like, granted, you can, it's still identifiable. It's still, like, obviously, it's still obvious that it's a breeze helmet. But a lot of the like, minor details have been, like, blurred out and stuff like that. And it's not limited to just the helmet. The visor is the same way, where you can see some vague semblance of line details on the visor, on the official, but on the bootleg you don't really see much of that. And it continues on to the shoulder armor. To a lesser extent, but it's still slightly noticeable. On the weapon, you can see that some of the details have been completely lost. You can see that some of the details have been pretty much changed or even lost. It's crazy. It's kind of crazy. And this piece is slightly more hollowed out, which kind of explains why these blade pieces have a similar light piping effect as the saw blade shield, circular saw shield. And again, it's not even limited to that, because even the green parts, even these green parts, there's a bit of there's that subtle difference. Whereas, where on the official one, you can see that the lines have been shown, are prominently shown. Like you can see all the lines and details of these armor shells. Whereas on the bootleg, it's a bit more simplified. Some of these edges have been like rounded off, so you don't get as much of that sharper, as much as sculpted out details as on the official. Like you can see that she does have that ridge on her wrist, just like on the official, but it's hardly noticeable here. It's interesting. The only place where it's kind of hard for me to tell that there's been a texture difference is on the feet, which they're pretty much they look pretty similar enough. There's just a slightly lighter shade of silver. So that's very interesting to note. And then one last difference between these two is actually the green spikes, where on the official they have a bit of flex to them. They're made of a softer, more rubbery type of plastic. These are this is pretty standard for these spikes to have a little bit of flex, rubbery flex to them. Like, that's just how Lego designed these pieces. But on the bootleg, they're not as flexible. They're made of a harder plastic. And this is actually a detail that both my bootleg creature of jungle and lava beast have in common with this breeze, is those spikes aren't made of that softer rubbery plastic. They're made of a more harder plastic, and they're not as easy to put in or take out as a result. And that is pretty much all of the differences, all of the obvious differences. What did I do? I accidentally stepped on that. It's fine. Now, as far as bones go, the only real difference that I've seen on the bones is that on the socket parts, is that at these socket parts, you see that the official has these parts like that. It looks pretty normal, right? But when you look at the bootleg, you can, at least I noticed that these rims around the sockets are ever so slightly thinner. That might be just me, but I don't know. Let's bring it close. It might be just me, but I think that these rims of these socket joints might be ever so slightly thinner, but I could be wrong on that. And those are pretty much all of the differences that I've spotted on these two, on this bootleg compared to the original. So yeah, there has been a few obvious differences. Mostly with how the parts were sculpted. And obviously the 3 colors. But overall, these parts are still nice and compatible with the official stuff. Tried it. It works pretty well. The Technic parts of her aren't really that bad. Overall, there are I do see differences, mostly in the weapon. The weapon is the most obvious thing, but there's also a lot of subtle differences as far as the details go. So there's also that. Now I'm doing this video because after this video, I am going to so after this So I've made this video because I recently got this official breeze from the parts lots from a previous parts lots. And after this video, she is going to be replacing this bootleg on my Brain Attack display shelf. And then the bootleg will be torn apart and used for parts for other builds. Now, so after that, I'm going to take this one apart. She's going to be on my display. And I'm actually kind of glad for that, because there are a lot of useful parts in this set, even though some of the parts are not as aren't as nicely picked out. There's still really nice parts that I can use in other builds, like her helmet, for example. I actually have a mock planned out that I could really use this helmet for. And of course, we have these pieces, which these are going to be interesting to use in builds. We have, when I take her apart, I'm going to have a lot more green parts. I'm going to have a pair of these size 4s and clear, translucent green, bright green. Those are going to be fun to use. All these green parts are going to be nice to use. And of course, the circular saw, that's nice. And of course, a couple more of these, which I actually might just take these off and put it on the official one. I might do that. And I might actually do that. Take these blades off and put them on the official until I get another one of these parts in silver. Then I could use the silver ones again. I think I might do that. And overall, this bootleg has been really fun. I've definitely enjoyed this bootleg on my display shelf. On my display. But at the end of the day, she was really just a stand-in for the official one. But don't worry, I'm not getting rid of her. She's still gonna be very useful, just in a different way. And that'll be it for this video. If you enjoyed this comparison, this bootleg comparison, consider to like and subscribe, and maybe even comment if you want. And of course, I will be posting again sooner or later.